Governor Josh Shapiro is speaking out for the first time since the assassination attempt on his life. ABC is calling it an arson attack. I think that's downplaying it. This is a man who was trying to kill Josh Shapiro and his family, and Josh Shapiro is finally speaking out, and let's get right into it. All right, first off, importantly, here is how Josh Shapiro's family is doing.
Doing okay. You know, our kids are resilient. Lori's been a rock. And I'm trying to be a good dad, a good husband, a good governor in that order.
But not the easiest thing in the world to deal with.
I think they've been really reassured, as I think we all have, by the outpouring of support that we've gotten from all corners.
Yeah, he scaled the fence somewhere right around here.
They're getting support from all corners, but I think I mean, was I shocked? I was a little shocked to hear that Josh Shapiro has not heard from President Trump.
You talked about hearing from fellow governors, people from all over Pennsylvania, all over the country. Have you heard from President Trump?
I haven't.
Not at all?
No.
Anybody in the administration?
I heard immediately that day from Director Patel of the FBI, and I've heard from Attorney General Bondi.
Attorney General Bondi has not yet said this was an act of domestic terrorism. Do you believe it was?
I think that's a question for the prosecutors, both the local district attorney and the Department of Justice.
Why don't you want to address that question? Because we even saw Senator Schumer today sent a letter to the Attorney General saying he believes this should be labeled and investigated as a hate crime.
I'm not sure it's helpful for people on the outside to be weighing in with their opinions here, George, no matter who they are. You've asked me a couple times why I haven't sort of given you maybe the kind of answer that you're seeking. I want to explain why.
Yeah.
I know as a former prosecutor how important it is to follow the evidence and apply the law, and to do so without fear or favor. In this case, I'm the victim of the crime. I'm not the prosecutor. The prosecutors will weigh all of the different evidence, determine what the motive is. I think for me to dwell on that, to focus on that, is not my job.
Part of that job is to combat the kind of conditions we're seeing.
Bro, I actually can't believe Trump hasn't called him, because Donald Trump knows what it's like for someone to try to take your life. And so like, how hard could it have been for him to just pick up the phone for 3 minutes, say, I'm glad you're okay, we're going to do everything we can to get this guy. Pam Bondi and Donald Trump have been more effusive about Tesla and the protests happening at Tesla dealerships than they are about a sitting governor and what it appears to be an anti-Semitic attack against him and his family, where they tried to burn them alive. Donald Trump won't speak up about that. Pam Bondi won't speak up about that, but they're going to talk about how some cars at Tesla dealerships are getting arsoned, but they won't talk about how an actual person is under threat because of Donald Trump's rhetoric and the environment he has created. And here's part of that environment he's created. Josh Shapiro was the victim of an anti-Semitic arson attack, an assassination attempt on his life. Here's what Rep. Dan Muser said about this attack. He blamed Josh Shapiro for the arson.
Now I just can't help, though, but say on the left, and and when you have a Tesla car bomb set outside a Trump hotel and it blows up virtually, and there's no denouncing from the left.
Right.
In fact, they're making jokes about it on comedy shows that only the left watches, for crying out loud, because it's not funny. And all it does is try to attack the president. So things like that. And I'll also just add this. I got into a little controversy with Governor Shapiro because I stated that he makes comments where he said President Trump was an existential threat to democracy. And he recently stated, very falsely, that President Trump and the administration was withholding funding for food for hungry Pennsylvanians, keeping those that are hungry from accessing food. Complete falsehood, completely made up.
Yeah.
And when you say things like that, that creates hatred.
It does.
Right?
It does. No, you're right.
I mean, hatred. And where does hatred go?
The violence.
Right.
And we've got to stop this.
Exactly.
Absolutely. We can't continue this way.
So we can't, I mean, this is classic. This is just classic victim blaming. I'm not surprised that people who support someone who has been found liable of sexual assault would then blame the victim, but that's what they're doing here. And it's ridiculous to say that because Josh Shapiro rightly said that President Trump is an existential threat to democracy, when the evidence shows that Donald Trump is allergic to democracy. I feel like a broken record. January 6th was a big deal. It will always be a big deal. They don't want it to be a big deal. I hope we win the next election because the winners get to write what history teaches us. And so my hope is that we win the next election because we have to instill in the next generation of Americans that January 6th was not okay. And part of doing that is by saying exactly what happened and naming exactly who Donald Trump is, which is a threat to democracy. If he would have just went home and said, all right, I lost, see you in 4 years, no one would be saying this. But he sent a mob to the Capitol. He tried to get Mike Pence to stop the counting of electoral votes, something that he was not constitutionally allowed to do. And he put a lot of pressure on many different state legislators to try to get them to change the outcome of the election. If that's not a threat to democracy, I don't know what is. Meanwhile, the Lincoln Project has another ad out. I mean, they have been relentless lately. This time talking about the rift in Donald Trump's administration, Elon Musk, and Donald Trump himself. And I know for a fact, I worked at the Lincoln Project. I was their comms director. I know for a fact that this sort of shit gets into Trump's head. Let us watch.
It's funny, Donald. This time it only took 2 months before your own team started stabbing you in the back and tearing each other apart. The knives are out. Elon attacking Peter Navarro and calling him dumber than a box of rocks. Navarro blasting back. Howard Lutnick under fire from your own West Wing. These idiots, please. Anonymous sources, leaking. Drip, 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 Donald. Everyone around you is fighting, Donald. Not for you, for themselves, for their power. They're all leaking to the media. Telling the truth about your mess, your mistakes, your embarrassing performance at everything. And while they're fighting, you're sinking. Looked at your polls lately? Don't. They're as bad as your stock market. You thought they'd be loyal to you, Donald. Are you really that naive? They're ripping you off, getting power and fame from you while leaking against you. It's sad, Donald. So sad.
Ooh, I know for a fact that sort of stuff is what drives Donald Trump insane. I hope that's going up on Fox News. And I want to end with this. Senator Murkowski of Alaska said that she feels scared about what's happening right now. And I want to ask you this. If she's feeling scared, do you think she should stay in office or should she resign and let someone who is unafraid actually stand up for all of us? Because we need people who are leaders right now. We need folks who are going to stand up for democracy, who are not, I just think about this country was founded on brave people who stood up for what is right. Where are those people today? I don't think Senator Murkowski is one of them. I'll see you next time.
What are you going to have to say to people who are afraid? Or who represent people who are afraid? We are all afraid. Okay? So I've stated. But we are, we're in a time and a place where I don't know, I certainly have not been here before. And I'll tell you, I'm oftentimes very anxious myself about using my voice, because retaliation is real, and that's not right. But that's what you've asked me to do. And so I'm going to use my voice to the best of my ability. And sometimes it will be viewed in a way that, well, that's pretty confrontational. and other times he's going to be using my mother's charm that I learned as a young girl, and in direct communication with those that I made relationships with, and am able to affect some change that way. But I've got to figure out how I can do my best to help the many who are so anxious and are so afraid.